All right, welcome back. So today we're looking at functions in Python. In a previous video, we talked about functions, now we can create them and define them. Today we're going to actually add another part to this. We're going to add parameters to this. And this is where really functions can be really useful, is you can pass a parameter to them and do something with that. So for an example, we'll just kind of create a function here. We're going to call it addition, because let's say we're going to make a calculator. And you have the brackets here like this, and then we're going to make the colon, and then we're going to have it do something. Now, this right here is where we can add parameters, and you kind of have to think through this a little bit of what you want it to do. So let's say we're going to use addition. We're going to add something together, and we're just going to use two numbers. So we're going to create two different parameters. We're going to call it x and y. They can be anything. You could do A and B, or it could be a word, or whatever you wanted it to be. I'm just going to use X and Y. And we're just going to add those two numbers together here. And we're going to create another variable called sum, because we're going to add them together. Actually, let's do product. We're going to create this and call it the product of these two. And we're just going to say that that is X plus Y. Okay, so it's going to take these two numbers that we're going to ask later on in our program, and we're going to add them together. And then we're going to go ahead and just print our product. Okay, and it's going to take that and just print it out. So when we call on this program, we're going to have it do this calculation, X plus Y. Okay, so now outside of my function, now I can have my program that's going to run. And this is the one unique thing with Python, is you have your functions usually at the top, but they can be in other languages. They can be placed in different places within your coding. Sometimes at the bottom, sometimes at the top. It just depends on the language. In this case, we're just going to put our function here at the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to ask for those two numbers. So we're going to actually call one variable num1. And notice these are not the same as these. It really just makes it easier for the program and for you to distinguish that these are two numbers that we're going to ask for. And then within this program, it's using those two numbers, but we're going to actually call them X and Y instead of just num1 and num2. Okay. And in some languages, you just cannot have them be the same name. So we're going to do input. And we're going to say enter a number. Okay. And then we're going to do another one here called num2. Okay, so same concept. We're going to ask for two integers. I'm just going to ask those numbers to be entered. And this is where we call on our function right here. So we're just going to do addition. And now this is what you have to do. You have to take this num1 and then this num2. So what happens is this variable num1 right here takes on this value that's entered. And then in our program, we're going to take that number that's right here, and it's going to pass it to our program that we've just made, our function, our method, depending on the language you're working with. And it's going to pass that number up to here. So this is 5. It's going to take, or whatever number we enter here. I'm going to enter 5 here in a second, but it can be any number. That number then, whatever number is entered here is going to be passed up to this. We're going to take that and come up with this product and then print that off here. So both of these numbers that we enter are going to be added in up here. Okay, so if we run this, it's going to say enter a number. Let's do 5, and then let's do 7 for the other one. And it prints 12. So what happened in all that is it went here first, and it asked our two questions, right? That's what's going on here, is these two right here, that's this right here. Okay, and it skipped over this, right? Because this is our function. It doesn't do anything with this until we actually call on it. And since we haven't called on it right now, at this point in our program, it won't do anything. So it just skips over this. That's why you have the define here. And in my particular program that I'm using to write this, I can actually close this down, and you can see there's no code here. It just kind of skips over it. So it skips over this. It asks these two questions, and then because I called on the program here, my function, I called on this right here, it's going to take those two numbers, pass them to our function, add them in here, and then add them together. And for this one I have 2. I could do a third one if I wanted to. Let's do a third and call it Z. And then we're going to create another question here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Copy paste is really, really important when you're coding. So we'll call this num3, and we'll go ahead and pass this one as well. So we're going to run this now. We'll do 5 and 7 and 9. And so that should be 12, 21. Now, see what happened? I did pass the number here, the Z, but I did not add it into this. So there's Z. Now let's run that again. See, and we learn coding by making mistakes. And there's 21. Okay, so that's how the functions work. This is how you use parameters to pass numbers to them. And obviously, if you can use this then in a calculator program or a lot of different programs. And maybe this is something that I want to use over and over and over again. That's why I created the function, and I can take those numbers and pass it to it. Okay. All right. Hopefully this helps you in your coding, and good luck.